Why don't we start with your conversation with Lucas Patrick on the fourth down play, and he was right in the middle of that. We haven't given any credit to the center and how he handled that moment, helping whatever he did to get the Lions to jump.
Yeah, so that it took all 11 to really execute that play there, Mark, and just on that fourth down throw to DJ, how Lucas Patrick described it was just a master of situational ball and just again well executed by everyone. And he said, like, executing on a play like that, it's one guy doing their job, but it takes all 11 individuals to do their job to really make something like that happen. But it was something that when you speaking to some of the other players like Cole Kmet in the locker room, they didn't expect it because they're just basically around the 50-yard line and just expecting maybe they'll draw him off sides and that's about it. But when you see a guy like Hutchinson come off, then it's something that they have been practicing. And actually, Justin Fields said earlier this week they had 3 times in practice where that same exact situation came up. So they knew exactly how to run that play, how to execute it. And Matt Eberflus was kind of saying with that type of play, there are a couple options there, but one of them is just an all go. And that's what you saw DJ Moore do. And that's how you saw Justin Fields capitalize it. And, a really big play for the Bears to, capitalize on that. I think there was a play, was it maybe last year or 2 years ago, where maybe it was against Green Bay where Justin Fields ended up throwing an interception off of a hard count that we thought was really well executed. There was no penalty flag thrown, but here against Detroit, everyone did their job and they were able to get a touchdown out of it.
Yeah, and I liked, Flus also mentioned that the great thing about that, running those free plays, is because the defense usually will, hesitate after they jump off sides. And at minimum, the guy that jumps off usually, he takes a step backward, so his momentum's going again. You're basically taking the rush out of it there in that moment. And, it's just refreshing, right, Nick? Because we've seen this so many times in the past where the Bears are not the team executing this. 4th and 13, you're just not thinking they're going to jump off, but they do, and just the execution all around. It's a lot of good coaching there, and it's a lot of good execution.
No doubt about it. It's something that, we had not seen from the Bears team. Usually they're on the opposite end of, those types of plays. But there was a point of emphasis coming out of halftime, you guys, where, they knew Eberflus' message was they needed to one, just work on the fundamentals and execute. And I know we hear it all the time, but that really is a difference in a play like that working and obviously going in a complete different direction. But the fundamentals were there. The execution was there from all 11. And Cole Kmet said he did kind of like a poker face, looked over at Darnell Mooney acting like they were going to switch the route beforehand so to make it look a little bit more believable. And what Justin was also saying is that you just got to treat it like a normal play because you can oversell those types of plays, right, where they're not going to run a play. And if you just treat it like a normal play and then execute it to each individual's assignment, you end up with a touchdown like that to DJ Moore.
Did Kmet double down on his run the table that she said earlier this week on Monday?
He did, Mark. He did say that, this result honestly doesn't matter if they don't do exactly that, run the table. So he said that they were in playoff mode last week. That's still continuing this week. And obviously it was a good victory for the Bears, but it means nothing if they cannot, finish out this season, 4 games left, and maybe get to that 9-8 record that he mentioned early last week, but he thinks that is still the mindset that this Bears team needs to have as they're kind of approaching the last stretch of games. And again, they know 21 days ago they had a far different result, far different feeling against this team at Ford Field. It needed to start today at Soldier Field with a victory, and they're able to accomplish that today.
Yeah, I was saying earlier, what I think I was most impressed about was it wasn't necessarily like a dynamic win. It was just a methodical ass whooping, and it felt like the better team won. And it feels crazy to say when you look at where the Lions are at and where the Bears have been this year, but it did feel like, yeah, this is what should happen. Going back to the secondary, I'm starting to really get impressed with. Like, these guys are starting to really gel. At one point during the game, there was some communication pre-snap as there was motion. Kyler Gordon tapped on his head. Jalen Johnson, Tyreek Stevenson, Kyler Gordon, all on the same page. They completely shut the play down. I think they caused maybe a sack in the backfield because of it. They're flying around. Jalen Johnson gets a pick. I mean, they're really ascending at this point. I don't know Like, I just hope that they can keep this unit around because I think they're a special group.
Yeah, they're playing really good football right now. Just I think the communication level between these secondary players and continuity, like that's something that maybe we take for granted when it's on the field. But there was a lot of times this season where you just didn't have your starting secondary all out there at the same time, and I think you're seeing the benefits of continuity at all three levels for the defense. And hey, I know we kind of joke about this, but ever since Phil Snow, all right, Phil Snow got here. Like there has been a change. Of course, you add in Matt Eberflus taking the play calling, but this defense is humming. And of course, it always helps to get a guy like Montez Sweat. I mean, he literally grabbed Jared Goff by almost not a horse collar, but he got his jersey like, "You're not getting away from me." So you add in all these pieces now, and Eberflus actually was asked a question about this. Like, do you have all the pieces now where you don't have to overcompensate? And he basically said yes. So now that he has the pass rush, he has the secondary. With the continuity that they have, he's able to run his defense, and we're seeing the results, the turnovers they're able to create. And look, I can tell you this, Jared Goff hates playing this defense. Just look at the results and look at all the turnovers that have happened. You're starting to see, just a really dominant defense. And guys, Jaquan Brisker, 17 total tackles. Like, that's nuts. So Eberflus was kind of talking about that in his press conference today, and he said, "Isn't that crazy?" And he made a joke. It sounds like my college stats. It's unbelievable. But he's like, I don't think he's ever seen anything like that. And that's why ultimately they draft a guy like Jaquan Brisker, because he brings that energy. You see it every single time he's out there on the field. He's doing his little arrow celebration. Whether or not he makes the play or not, I think that spreads to the rest of his teammates. And that's why you're seeing all three levels really meshing right now.
Somebody call the Toledo SID department. I want to know if Flus ever had double-digit
Well, I was
tackles.
going to say, that actually does sound unbelievable.
Hey, wait, he already called out Trustman for his numbers. Let's not get to another coach.
I don't need to be in Twitter beef tonight with Eberflus. One coach a weekend's good for me. How about a CHGO T-shirt idea or holiday sweater idea? Mm-hmm. Let it snow with like the snowflake doing the bird thing that no-fly zone.
Oh yeah,
there's a lot going on in that shirt.
It is. Okay, brick by brick that has hits principle in it.
Don't hate on Eric. Eric's our design
I'm hating
guy.
on you, not Eric.
Slow down over there. Don't be hating on the vision, Eric.
Well, maybe we need a no-fly
killing
zone thing if that's really a thing that's going on.
No-fly zone and a Phil Snow shirt. We'll have
Doesn't
both.
everyone do no-fly zone? I feel like that's not very original.
Yeah, but how many people do let it snow?
Yeah,
I guess so.
Okay, you guys hate Christmas. And I hope Santa gives you
just Thanksgiving.
My head's in a slightly different space, but I'll just, let that marinate for a little while longer. We don't need a shirt. We need a song. And I'm going to work on it.
I came up with a song for Flus in the middle of the game. You weren't even listening to me.
Nick, Jervon Dexter got his first sack of his career, too. This is another guy that continues to ascend.
Half a sack.
Was it a half a sack?
Half a sack.
Half a sack.
So, yeah.
Half a sack.
Justin Jones has another half a sack. Please stop kicking me, and please listen to the show. Do you have a question?
Jervon Dexter, yes. Yeah. Jervon Dexter, yeah. No, he's been doing well.
They cut me off.
What's your question?
No question. Just go, Nick.
He's not a puppet. You have to ask him a question.
Okay, great. Jervon Dexter was great. Here's the question, Nick. You listen to Fields. What stood out for you in the Fields press conference?
Well, I think it was even though obviously the Bears had a dominant victory over the Detroit Lions, like they felt like they still left a lot out there. You guys, Cole Kmet said they probably should have put 40 on them in this game, and there were some throws that Justin Fields would like to have back, and there was a deep throw in the middle of the field late in the game where I think the ball just got away from him. It just sailed over top, and unless DJ Moore was like 8 feet tall, he didn't have a chance at catching that ball. There was a third down and short to Darnell Mooney where I don't know if it was a throw or the route from Mooney. They were just a little bit off, but I think that's despite the victory, like this team is looking to still make those necessary corrections that they need to make to really put themselves in a position to, like Cole Kmet was saying, run the table. So it was a good victory for Justin Fields, and he felt like, I think ultimately he was okay with his game, but he still left some plays out there He was also saying on the after the fourth down play where obviously the Bears don't convert on what should have been the tush push, but it was by design to pitch it out to DJ Moore. That was by design. He just knows that there are going to be ups and downs in a football game. And I think all Bears fans, we know that it would not be a Bears game if it, was a clean football game. There's going to be those moments. And, just staying even keeled, didn't personally leave. Like, I think what he was saying that the team did a good job coming out of halftime, finishing the game, but it's having the right mentality that even a swing like that where they don't convert, Detroit actually goes and scores a touchdown that drive, they're able to stay mentally locked in. And I think Justin Fields is one of the best players on this team that kind of represents always being locked in. And, it kind of showed even after that moment how they came out after halftime, what the defense was able to do, and the back-to-back touchdown drives, the back-to-back touchdowns that Justin Fields was able to create. So I think that's just how he operates, and that kind of really, just trickles down to the rest of the football team.
One last question. Somebody just brought it up in the chat, and I think it's a good point.
It would actually be your first question.
That would be my first question. So,
do you have one?
I do have one because somebody brought it up in the chat. Do you know how many screens were called today on the offense? Because somebody in the chat saying no screens were called. And
I can't think of one.
Typically, I black out during the game, so I have no idea what happened. But now that I'm starting to look back and think about this, I can't remember one either. And that's a really good point because, Eberflus talked during the week about having to go downfield more after the Minnesota game, and then they don't give me that look, and they don't throw any screens. And I want to know from the expert analysts, Hogue and Nick, did a screen get called today? Not you, resident jackass.
Nick, resident jackass.
I was just waiting for a question. I was wondering when it was going to come.
Well, we all know
later.
The first thing Luke Getsy does when the game's over is give Nick his play call sheet from the game. So were there any screens on there?
Nick takes notes.
I do take notes, but I can't remember if there was a screen like you guys.
I remembered it. They ran. They tried to run one to DJ Moore, a tunnel screen on the outside, and he got tackled right away.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So, hey, I think there was a smart individual who joined pregame from Soldier Field. Wasn't wearing this hat, but also said the screen game probably not going to be a big part of this game because again, Detroit what Justin Fields is saying, they really scheme based off the defense that they're going to play. And you look at this defense, they give up plays downfield, and like Justin Fields is saying, they missed some. So I don't think they thought that the screen game was the way to beat this Detroit Lions defense. So that's why you saw more deep shots. You saw less of the screen game. And even though you didn't have a guy like EQ, you didn't need him in this one because you're able to do enough. But like I said, they still left some plays out there.
Yeah, that Mercedes Lewis play, too. I
Slip
think
screen.
I have to go back and watch it to see if we're technically calling that a screen or not.
Yeah, he just flared it out.
We're not.
But I'm surprised they didn't make Carb's notes because the second that ball got thrown over to Mercedes Lewis, I said, delete that from the playbook now.
I probably was sleeping at that point with the Bargers beef coma. But yes, no, I should have wrote that down. That's not a screen. Nick, last one before you go for me at least. Did you give me something you saw in the locker room today that people would want to know about that weren't there that you thought was cool? Somebody excited, somebody sad, somebody something.
Cole Kmet's Cubs hat.
What a great question.
Get a new hat, Cole.
It was different.
It is.
Great, a good hat if you're a Cubs fan. Trying to think here. I just looking back at the locker room. It was nice seeing an interaction between Jaquan Brisker and Jalen Johnson. Their lockers are pretty close by each other, but I think it was just that satisfaction of the win streak, but they just overly excited. And we know that Jaquan Brisker is an emotional guy. You see it on the field, but it's just when going back to this locker room, there hasn't been a lot of that. So when you kind of even see any type of even minimal celebration, you take note of it. So it was nice seeing that. I did ask Jaquan about he had a great game, you guys, 17 total tackles. I'm like, you should have had a pick 6, right? And he looked at me, kind of rolled his eyes. I'm like, man, I just didn't, I read the route right. And I just didn't put my hands together. So he's like, got to work on that. But I think just seeing those little things that, again, we haven't seen consistently enough especially here at Soldier Field, that counts. And going back to my quick conversation with Lucas Patrick, he's like, this locker room right now, you guys, it has trust. Trust that we're going to get these things done. Trust that, the guy next to you is going to do the right thing. And, you never know what can happen coming off a win streak, 2 in a row. So it's nice seeing that continuity and, the overall trust that all of these individuals have in the locker room right now.
How many people in the press box were talking about my Twitter beef with Mark Trestman?
I can't say it trickled down to my end where Herb Howard and I were at, but
Okay.
yeah. I don't think I even saw it, Adam. What did you do?
I didn't do anything, and Mark and I are cool.
He was bullying Mark Trestman.
He bullied Trestman on Twitter because
You
Trestman
can
tried
look it
to
up
celebrate his
off
tenure
show.
with the Bears, and Hogs just was a straight jerk.
I'm a bad guy. He deleted the tweet. You know why? Because it was wrong.
We could have had Mark Trestman on the show. He could have been in studio. Now Trestman's like, screw you, Hogue. Ain't doing CHGO
I
Bears.
spin zone that. I think we increase the likelihood of having Mark Trestman on the show.
We're getting. Can we get? That's the one thing I want. I want Tresty. We want Tresty.
Trusty, we trusty? Okay.
We love you, Tresty.
Nick.
Time heals all Tresty wounds.
Appreciate you, man. We'll be reading you allchgo.com, all the great Twitter updates on X at Nicholas Moreano.
All right, you guys. See ya.
There he goes.
See you, Nick.
Show the hair, you coward.
To his point about trust, the team trusting each other.
He's growing out his hair and he's wearing a hat.
Yeah. To his point about trust, Chicago Bears defensive lineman Montez Sweat said about that Matt Eberflus deserves a lot of credit for continuing to keep this team together. And I quote, "This is a really tight group. Eberflus is a great coach. He keeps us motivated. A lot of respect for him as a coach."
Who said that?
Montez Sweat.
Wow. Okay.
Carries some money.
He's been drinking the Bears Kool-Aid.
We all silly like the mayor.